Dendrite dames and biotite boys. Gobble up your gastroliths, massage your magma, and whoa! You can't sneak up on me like that! You scared the schist out of me!
Mo's hardness scale joke. It's time to talk Tull to me.
I've already got one later, but
yeah, okay.
The more the merrier. Welcome back, I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are the voices of the feckless moans.
And this, my sweet participants of this ever Sisyphusian task, is Talk Tull to Me.
A nighttime nodule hunt in the Petrological Institute of Prog Rock, in which non-clastic Nick and Ovaline Omen will ever so gently tap with a hammer upon each and every track that rocky rock band Jethro Tull has ever expelled from the volcano of their artistry, and even some tracks that were screed straight out of the earth by the explosive force of Feldspar frontman Ian Anderson. We will finger the Flandrian transgression fold of guitarist Florian Opal, grasp the granite gaps of bassist David Goodyear, and take a steamy dip into keys specialist John O'Hara's hydrothermal vent. And if we can create a wiggle trace chart of Steven Wilson, pacify the plate tectonics of Pete Judge, and reach the depths of Ryan O'Donnell's rift, we might just get to finally establish a Mo's hardness scale reading on the sedimentary Scotsman, the mesocratic minstrel, the cross-bedded claghornist, a man so metamorphic he is completely unrecognizable from how he looked 75 million years ago, Ian Aftershock Anderson.
Fact.
Nick McGill.
Yeah. Omen Sade. Omen Thomas Sade.
Are on the part of the map of the Tull averse, which reads, Here There Be Dragons.
That's right. Uncharted territory. No one has heard these albums.
You keep telling me that we're only 7 days sail from home, and I believe you, but it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I took away your calendar months ago.
I thought it was days ago.
Oh, shit. Oh. Did you say a wiggle trace trail or something? What was that?
A wiggle trace chart.
Wiggle trace chart.
Yeah.
That's how I measure my weight, actually.
That's how I measure my wiggles.
That's how I met your mother.
So it's a very special episode today here on Talk Tull to Me.
That's it.
Because we are technically, by a very technical definition, not talking Tull. And yet, on a much less technical sense, we are still talking Tull.
It depends on how hard you squint at what angle. Is it a rabbit or is it a duck?
Here's the thing. As Tulkiologists, one of the things that we've come to recognize is that you can't, as you're going through the strata of things that are buried under other things, you can't distinctly say, oh, this is a Tull molecule and this is a non-Tull molecule. Tull exists on a spectrum. There's room for debate. There's room for interpretation.
And you need to be aware of the other things of the era to put things into perspective.
That's right. The world is completely interconnected. In a sense, everything is Tull.
If you find an ancient canopic jar in a park in Edison, New Jersey, chances are it's not actually
Tull.
A canopic jar.
Oh.
It's Tull?
It's Talk Tull to Me.
Context. It's context. It's holding all of the episodes of Talk Tull to Me, and Pandora opened it up, and they all came out except for one, and that was the hope of ever finishing.
So, Nick, let's get down to brass tabs. What are we talking Tull, etc., about this very episode here, you and I?
We are talking the etc. portion, the and the rest. We are talking tab 2. Thick as a Brick 2. We are starting there.
Released in 2012.
That's right.
A scant some number of years after the Christmas album. 9 years after the Christmas album.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it was a while. No wonder the personnel changed fairly drastically.
Fairly drastically, but not massively drastically.
Mostly drastically.
Fairly We'll get into it.
We'll get into it. Shut up. Everybody shut up.
Everybody shut up. It was released under Chrysalis/EMI Records, produced by Ian Anderson, billed as Jethro Tull's Ian Anderson, Thick as a Brick 2, Whatever Happened to Gerald Bostock?
The subtitle.
I
mean, Ian just had tapped into the zeitgeist, and he asks the questions we all want to ask, but don't have the cojones to do so.
You mean Whatever Happened to Gerald Bostock?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Well, and curious how this came to be. So before we dive into the first track off of the album, and it is track.
That's right.
It is unlike Thick as a Brick 1, I guess, the original.
Its predecessor, yeah.
It's not just side A, side B. It actually has tracks. Reading from Silent Singing, the Jethro Tull lyrical tome.
Do you want to hear my silent singing?
Yes, I would. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Never heard anything like it.
Never stop.
I still haven't
Never
heard
stop making that sound. Ian writes, "It was sometime in 2011 when old pal and ex-singer of Gentle Giant, Derek Schulman, visited me while I was on tour in the USA. Over a natter in a hotel coffee shop, a natter as a chat, he suggested the idea of a follow-up to Thick as a Brick. It was not the first time this idea had come up, and I had a well-rehearsed line in regretful refusal all set to go." Sounds very Ian.
Yeah.
"But when we were chatting, one of us mused, what might Gerald Bostock be doing today? That immediately triggered my interest as to the various possibilities that might have become the future life of a precocious 8-year-old schoolboy in 1972, the supposed poet-author of the Thick as a Brick lyrics. Astronaut, prize fighter, lawyer, dentist, teacher, or internet startup entrepreneur? So, I set out to follow these notions and present a series of options, whether as a result of conscious decision-making at the various many crossroads of life, or resulting from chance encounters and opportunities along the way. Announcing my intention to take time off from the usual touring schedule which had become the norm, I set about the writing and arranging of a complex concept album in the spirit of the original. Perhaps, whichever routes we take in the life journey, we all end up at a destination preordained in a personal kismet-like future. Or we just quietly drift, unthinking, into oblivion over a pint in the local boozer."
So we have Derek Schulman to thank for this album.
Who do be Derek Schulman?
The former ex-singer of Gentle Giant.
Right. He's a Scot.
Oh, that's why he listened to him, fellow Scott.
That's right. He's born in Glasgow, began his recording career in British pop. His two brothers and he went on to form Gentle Giant, which is a progressive rock band. And then he became a record executive, where he worked with Bon Jovi, amongst some others. Oh, Dream Theater and Pantera.
Okay.
He went on to be president of Roadrunner Records, overseeing signings like Slipknot and Nickelback. So we have a lot to thank him for.
Yeah, we have a lot to blame this man for.
It is fascinating that Ian, we kind of get this impression that, he's an artist at saying no.
Yeah.
No, I can't shake your hand. I have a sore wrist, and you can tell that I'm not lying because my hand is in this cast.
Yes, right, exactly.
No, you can't carry my bag. You see, I'm a pilot.
Yeah.
So I can totally imagine the sort of thing that he might say if somebody ever said, well, are you going to, do Thick as a Brick too?
Yeah. I imagine it was probably, are you going to do a follow-up to blank, to Aqualung, to Passion Play, to any of them, I imagine, even Too Old to Rock and Roll,
Right.
Where, maybe Too Old to Rock and Roll is the prequel to Passion Play, and it's Ray Lamas who goes to hell.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Awesome. Nailed it. Perfect.
It's interesting that this question got into his head and he was like, I've had this experience, as an artiste, where an idea comes to you and then suddenly you feel like it's writing itself and you'd better catch up.
Yeah.
that seems to be what has happened here.
Yeah, there was clearly some level of inspiration, and I think it's so much muscle memory for Ian to be like, okay, now I'm writing an album, that it just needed that tiny little spark to ignite that wildfire. So he took the idea and ran.
He did.
Yeah.
Some of the interesting features of this album, the original album with all the art was a mock-up of a fictional newspaper called the St. Cleeve Chronicle and Linwell Advisor and Linwell Advertiser.
Lin-Manuel Miranda's advertisement.
Yep. The new Thick's a Brick 2 has a front page which resembles a news website.
Yes.
Called www.stcleeve.com.
And a news website that looks very of the time from 2012.
And very much like, a small paper, a small town
newspaper.
Yeah.
Like the Spalding Gazette or whatever.
Like the Spalding Gazette. Exactly. Underneath it says the Three Parishes newsletter covering St. Cleeve, Linwell, and Little Craddock, formerly the St. Cleeve Chronicle.
Speaking of cover and that picture of little Gerald Bostock, that kid portraying Gerald Bostock on the cover was child model Andre C. LeBreton. He went on to model various clothing catalogs before making a complete change in his career choices. He ran his own recording studio.
Wow.
Where he produced and engineered sessions for bands, most of which were only demos. As he himself said, quote, nothing too grand. He also created his own music. Quote, these days it's pretty weird underground German-sounding trance, blends of light and dark electronic noise, really.
Oh.
He works under the name Le Chaos Factory.
Oh my gosh, I want to listen to that. That sounds great.
And Chaos and Factory are lowercase except for the A's. Le Chaos Factory. Oh my God, listen to some of the names of these songs. A Shade of Riot, Anarchists would, wouldn't they? Screaming Pigs, Droidian Slip, Still Kicking, Von Daniken's Marbles, Lunatics in the Undergrowth, Fast Train to Nowhere, This is Platform 23, Envoy of the Arcane, I Hear Whispers, and Starfighter.
Where can you listen to this?
This is reverbnation.com/Le Chaos Factory /songs.
Oh, I got some. This is We're Still Kicking. I love it.
That's the angriest Moby song I've ever heard.
I really like it. I really like that stuff. So, in actuality, that is what Gerald Bostock is doing these days. What's interesting is that Ian has kind of taken this what if approach, which is not unheard of in the world of art. Reminds me of that film, the title of which I can't remember.
Yeah, that one. I was just thinking about that one.
Something about trains where you get on a train and you should have gotten on the other train and now your life is different. Trains.
Trains.
It's speculative fiction, kind of.
It's episodic speculative fiction. It's D&D. It's right by D&D. Roll the dice.
Yeah, okay.
Gerald Bostock is taking maximum damage from that comment.
Yeah, he's got psychic damage. His charisma has been reduced by 1.
Speaking of charisma, let's talk about the performers, the recording troupe on this album. We have vocals, flutes, and acoustic guitars, Ian Anderson. The electric guitar, we have Floriano Pale. We have John O'Hara, a name which will continue to be familiar as we continue on our journey through the next number of projects.
To present day.
Yep. We have Pete Judge on trumpet, flugelhorn, tenor horn, and E-flat tuba. I imagine he's not a touring musician necessarily.
Yeah, probably not. I bet you it gets taken over by if it's crucial enough, it gets taken over by the keys.
I would imagine. We have Ryan O'Donnell with additional vocals, fascinatingly.
Yeah. Strange it wasn't somebody in the band.
Strange Avenues, it wasn't somebody in the band.
Yeah.
David Goodyear, bass guitarist and glockenspiel.
Also currently in the band.
And doing great. And then Scott Hammond on the drums, also
currently in the band.
In the band.
Yeah. So when you said it's not a drastic change of personnel,
it actually is.
You meant Ian Anderson is still in the band.
What I realized is because we did the new albums out of order,
yes.
I was like, I know all these names.
Yeah, right. We'll see Florian again up until Zealot Gene. He's on Zealot Gene.
Yes, he is.
He didn't tour for it, but he recorded for it.
He did.
And then he gets replaced by JPJ. JPJ toured and was recorded for
Rock Flute.
And then he dumped out not long before you and I saw them in April of this year. So
my impression is that Albion, his band, really started popping off, and he couldn't dedicate the time to both bands.
Yeah. So they got the bassist from Albion to play the guitar for Jethro Tull.
Right.
Jack Clark.
And he's great. He's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, he's wonderful.
He's half the age of anyone else in the band.
At least half.
And he brings a youthful energy, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to hear him on the new album. If he's recording on the new album, that'd be cool.
Interestingly, Steven Wilson is listed as mixing engineer for this album. And he, of course, is the songwriter for Porcupine Tree, amongst other bands, and went on to do a lot of the remixes.
Yeah, I don't have this for a fact, but this may be one of our first instances of seeing Tull and Steven Wilson mixing together.
I'm pretty sure.
So all that preamble being said, Omen, shall we maybe dive into that first track?
I think we should. Interesting labeling system for this album. Not only are the tracks named, but they are divided up into 8 sections. The first of which is called Pebble's Throne, which include the tracks From a Pebble Throne, Pebbles, which is an instrumental, and Might Have Beans.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we start off with the track From a Pebble Throne?
Wonderful.
Okay, Nick, that was Le Chaos Factory.
That's right, with their cover of Thick as a Brick, labeled Thick as a Brick too.
Here's a little snippet. Oh, Bert did not like that.
Trademark Feckless Momes.
Nick, that was From a Pebble Throne, the first track off of Thick as a Brick 2.
We've done it. We're here. We've breached. It was a breach birth.
Yeah. You know, just off the bat, have you listened to this album as a whole yet?
I have a couple of times. It's still in that phase where I'm not absorbing it yet. I'm able to pick out a random phrase here and there. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I remember that theme from around here. But it's certainly not as absorbed as really any of the other Tull albums.
Sure. For me, I love that this has a clean sound, but it doesn't feel hermetic. It just feels very clean, very nice and clean, very Steve Wilson-y.
Yeah. We had our Christmas album live listening party just yesterday, chronologically, and we were talking about the original Christmas album because we listened to the remixes.
Right.
That Bruce Sword did as opposed to Steve Wilson, and there's so much character in that remix.
It's got a richness to it. I think that what we're beginning to find is that Steve Wilson has a very very, very, very clean, no dust on the counter touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just a different style. Mr. Sword seems to bring a little more of that warmth.
Yeah.
This does remind me a little bit. There's a certain sonic quality that reminds me a little bit of some parts of Zealot Gene.
Yes. Yeah.
Not across the board, but just little certain aspects that come out.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, definitely.
How does this song start out, Nick?
With Stab's instrumental, basically. We've got the wind and the ba, ba, ba.
Yeah. So if you listen back to the first couple of seconds of side B of Thick as a Brick 1, You'll hear that wonderful bow, 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 which itself is an echo of how side A ends on that album.
Yeah.
But this does kind of feel like a second side B in a way.
Exactly. We established that this sound leads into another portion. We're picking up where we left off.
Exactly.
And here it is.
It's great. It's very clever. It's a, I think you have to assume that anyone listening to Thick as a Brick 2, this is not their first introduction to the work of Ian Anderson. You pretty much are going to be listening to this with familiarity, from a place of familiarity with Thick as a Brick, the OG.
Yeah, right. Tull at least, if not Thick as a Brick. Presumably, yes, Thick as a Brick, yeah.
And I do think you sort of need that in order to interpret it.
Yeah.
It's like you could read the Iliad by itself, but it will really help if you've read the Odyssey first.
Yeah. References and allusions to things and themes. Yeah. Yep.
Funnily enough, the Iliad was also written by Ian Anderson.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. He would not shake Homer's hand, though. His wrist hurt too much.
Yeah.
Speaking of recurring themes or bringing back themes, much like Stab's instrumental, a couple of times in here, we have that da-na-na-na-na-na. It's almost triumphant.
Oh.
It's a play on da-da-da-na-na-na, da-na-na, da-da-na-na-na. It never finishes the idea, so it's kind of veiled.
That's very clever. I actually did not pick up on that. Well noticed.
Yeah, I didn't until just this listen through. I have picked up on the da-na-na-na-na-na because it sounds so, I don't know, it kind of sticks out. It sticks out like a flag in this one. And now that I think about it, I think one of the big reasons it sounds so different is because it's Florian on guitar as opposed to Ian playing on flute. If he played it on flute, I think we'd have it in an instant.
Yeah. Just on my initial listen through, there are a lot of references not only to the album Thick as a Brick, but to other works of Ian's, throughout the ages.
Sonically, you're saying?
At least lyrically, probably sonically.
Yeah.
Right about at the 1 minute mark, we have a riff on the bass, which is that dee 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 dee.
Yeah, on keys.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the bass as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that's obviously a musical theme that we had in Thick as a Brick. I feel like there's going to be a lot of that, a lot of, ooh, hey, we know that from this.
Right, yeah.
But it is also its own distinct sound so far.
Yeah, and listening to it later, listening to these later tracks coming up, it does have its own unique sound. It doesn't stick so heavily onto, oh, this is Thick as a Brick 2. It's a sequel.
Right.
Content-wise, we always have this constant reference to Gerald. It's always couched in that, but we do have this evolution of sound as well. But it's also like in that first album, it starts and ends, and it does give us that comfortable bookend.
And it's important to start from a place of familiarity so that you can depart into the imagination.
Yeah, I mean, you could go completely rando, no sonic reference to Thick as a Brick at all, but you'd be missing out on something if just the lyrics were it.
Yeah, you could do that. But why would you do that?
But why would you? And you know what? Ian didn't.
And this song works fantastically as a prologue.
Yeah.
It's the chorus in Romeo and Juliet. It says, here's what the story is going to be about.
Yeah.
We're dealing with possibilities and chance. We'll talk of the imagery here shortly, but before we get there, I love the drums. I didn't realize how much I missed Scott Hammond on the drums. He's just wonderful. He feels very modern.
Yeah. I was going to say, for not being an American drummer, he sounds kind of like an American drummer, and maybe that's just modernity.
Yeah. Going back to the theme of Stephen Wilson's cleanliness, When we have silence, we have true silence.
Yeah.
And that happens at least once in this track where he drops it down to nothing just so we can come back in.
Yeah. It's not fades either. It looks like it's at least 2 seconds of silence.
Yeah. But it is a nice little pause, a little like, oh, what's happening here?
Yeah, because it is our entr'acte, we're getting kind of these allusions to what to expect and various sounds that are referenced before and after. So it's the medley. It's not a medley. We have a lot of medleys later on, but
it's the overture.
Overture. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yes, you're totally right. This is the track that teaches us how to listen to the rest of the album. We have some of the musical themes. We have great work from all the musicians. Ian comes in. It's only a 3-minute song.
It's so quick.
Yeah.
It's so very quick. And Ian comes in
like
about halfway through. I think it's around 1:15 when it kind of stops. We get Ian and some really lovely acoustic. As to be expected.
Take me on the ghost train. 20p and there you are.
Speaking of the acoustic guitar, we reached out to friend of the pod, too late to take it back, Mr. JDA.
We did the blood brother handshake.
Ew! Gross.
I've already said we've got the tattoos, so we got to do something different. I gave him my social security number.
There we go. You and I had been talking on the most...
couple episodes ago.
Yes. At the tail end of .com.
Yeah.
And we were talking about what sort of guitar might Ian be playing. And I had floated the idea that maybe it was a nylon strung guitar.
Oh, yes, because we heard a tiny high-pitched sound and we were like, is that Mando? Is that tiny guitar? Is it nylon versus steel?
So we reached out to James Duncan Anderson and asked, hey, what kind of guitar would Ian have been playing around that time period? And he quickly disabused me of the misconception that it was a nylon string guitar.
You rubbed your nose in it.
He did. He said that it was definitely steel strung, and Ian has always played the smaller guitars. That recently, all of his acoustics have been made by British luthier Andy Mason.
He used to do Martins, I think. Is that what he said?
Ian used to play Martin guitars.
Right, yeah.
Which is a brand.
Yeah. Not Martin Barr's Possessive. He didn't play Martin's guitars. Yeah.
Right. So for some years, he played the Martin guitars and he had a signature model done at some point. But in the current phase of things, he plays these guitars by Andy Manson.
And he's never played nylon. Isn't that right? Isn't that what James said?
He said that if he had, it was on some one-off recording and wouldn't be a regular thing.
Yeah, like we've seen on a handful of things, various instruments and sounds, etc.
Oh, we have Ian singing.
We do.
Which is very lovely and sounds great.
It's nice. It's getting that really rich, chocolatey quality.
In some of the low notes, where he drops down. Mm-hmm.
He's not forcing himself too much. He's really reached a point where, at least in this studio environment where he's really playing to his strengths, he's not forced to sing those higher notes or rewrite the tune to be able to sing those higher notes.
Yep. And it sounds, of course it is, but it sounds transitional between what we hear in .com and what we hear in Zealot Gene.
Yeah. And this one in particular, just this album as a whole, is very conversational.
Yes.
In the delivery of the singing, but we also have several times where it's just a recitation.
Yes. A little bit prefiguring the techniques that he uses with rock flute.
Yeah.
In a very different way.
Yeah.
So, just lots of fun stuff here.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else that we want to talk musically?
I'm pretty sure it's synth strings at just before 2 at about 150.
Interventions at every turn. Opportunities thrown wide and far.
Our ending is very unfulfilling because, as to be expected, it's obviously a lead into the next song.
Right. And even though this is divided up into tracks, there is a sense that it is a continuous experience.
Right. There's such a flow to this that...
A heavy flow.
There's such a flow to this. There's such a flow to this that if I'm not paying attention to lyrics or track movement or anything, like it's very difficult on this album to tell when you're transitioning to the next track.
And that is appropriate, I feel, for this
100%,
journey
yeah.
that we're taking where we're kind of cycling back in this lifetime, exploring all the different possibilities. And it does feel kind of meandering and cyclical, but in a good way. I was listening to it while I was cooking last night. And at a certain point, I was like, I couldn't tell you if I've been listening to this for half an hour or 40 minutes or 10 minutes.
Right. And if it was on repeat, you wouldn't know if you had started the repeat or not. There is some sort of Ouroboros effect of this album.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. I mean, it fits very well with its progenitor.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to a Mobius strip club and I could never figure out if the girls were taking their clothes off or putting them on.
The dollars they just disappeared.
They just kept going out of my wallet.
Oh, man, do we have anything for this middle section?
Not much. We'll jump very quickly on to content. Just thought it was interesting to note that we know that Ian has played Thick as a Brick, the original, in its entirety, a number of times live.
Yeah.
But between 2012 and 2014, Ian played at least a couple of times, both Thick as a Brick 1 and Thick as a Brick 2 in their entirety.
Ooh, wow.
There is a DVD called Thick as a Brick Live in Iceland, which is a recording of a concert in Reykjavik, in which he plays all of Thick as a Brick and all of Thick as a Brick 2.
I think there is on Spotify just the Thick as a Brick portion.
Okay.
Of that live, not the 2. I think I've heard that one before, particularly in Iceland. I could be wrong. But that sounds really interesting. I'd like to see that.
It was played in June of 2012. 2012.
Minus 20. 2012.
Oh, yeah. Which would mean that the sun would be up quite a lot, giving you time to play both of those albums.
There you go. They played the sun down.
They played the sun down. They played the sun back up again. Ian is a minor light deity in Icelandic folklore now.
He's an elf. He lives in the stones.
I've read recently that there was a law published in the 1200s in Norway, because of the Christianization, which specifically forbid people from having converse, communication, or obtaining knowledge from trolls. Which means it must have been an issue for the church.
That's very funny.
All right, Bishop of Norway, this is the Pope. I just wanted to know how things are going up in Norway. It's going great, except that people keep talking to the trolls.
Well, what do we do about it? I'll make a law. It's fine.
I'll put an edict. It's fine.
Yeah. Those poor trolls. They're so lonely now.
Yeah. Remember what's his name told us?
Oh, yeah.
James's friend.
Yeah.
That they saw a troll in Iceland.
Right? Like a big troll walked across the path or something like that?
Yeah. And he went to the pub and was shaking because he'd just seen a fucking troll.
Oh, and then they were like, oh, you saw the troll, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, oh, you saw Sven. Yeah. This kind of weather brings him out.
I remember that now. Yeah. That's awesome.
Crazy. Nick McGill.
Oh, Min Thomas Sade, what shall we do?
What shall we do? Why don't we talk about the concept of a pebble throne? We have this beautiful central image, pretty much in the smack dab middle of the lyrics. Ripples from a pebble throne make tsunami on a foreign shore.
Ripples from a pebble thrown, make a tsunami on a foreign shore.
Let's break it down.
So it's the same thing as the butterfly effect, right? One little decision here can make massive consequences down the line, affect things that never would have been affected had you turned left instead of right, say.
And it's a simple observable metaphor. If you take a stone or a pebble and you throw it into a still body of water, you see the ripples emanate out infinitely, getting smaller and smaller. And, if you talk to the physicists, then they will tell you that, those...
Get out of my office.
They will tell you, how did you get in here? They'll tell you that those ripples in theoretical physics never stop, literally ever.
Oh, theoretical physics blows my mind. I think it's supposed to blow your mind, right? Because it's theoretical.
It never stops blowing your mind. It
Fact.
just gets less and less observable.
But still blowing. Yeah.
Still, it blows. So we have this concept that, yes, whatever decision you might make, Ian gives us the teaser in the write-up where he says, is it predetermination?
Yeah.
Is it complete chance? Is it something else? So a lovely entry point into this album.
Yeah, much like we said, musically, this sets us up for the ideas of what we're going ahead with.
Thematically,
Yeah.
This also sets us up. Yep.
Yep.
Take me on the ghost train. 20p, and there you are.
Take me on the ghost train. 20p, and there you are.
What is the ghost train, Nick?
Is it an actual thing?
It's a song by Gorillaz.
Oh, well then that must be what it's about.
Ghost train haze is a strain of cannabis.
Okay, yep, also that.
Yeah, I think that it's like a ghost ship.
Oh.
A ship that's been abandoned but still somehow continues to sail, the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
It's a cursed ship that can never come to port. I think the ghost train is something like that. It reminds me of the train that the protagonist of Spirited Away rides.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're really not sure where it goes, but it seems to be going somewhere. But is it magical? Is it part of the real world? You're not totally sure.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that idea of this mystery train
Yes.
that you get on, that are you dead? Is it going
Yes.
to kill you? Or what life is it taking you to?
Right.
I think that's setting us up. Ian loves his trains. He loves his train metaphor.
He sure does.
And what a perfect way to use that and utilize that for this idea of unsettling unknowing.
It could also be a train of thought.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Come with me on this hypothetical journey.
Right. Yeah.
I love how affordable it is to take the ghost train.
It's only 20p.
Just 20p. Scary in the tunnel night. White knuckle fingers on the safety bar.
Scary in the tunnel night. White-knuckled fingers on the safety bar.
I love tunnel night.
Yeah.
It's so dark that you may as well be in a tunnel.
Oh, no, I took it the other way. I thought it's daytime until you go in the tunnel, and then it's tunnel night. It's not real night. It's just tunnel night.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Either way, it freaks you out so much that you're gripping onto the hold bar.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure plenty of people know the experience of being on a subway car, and then the lights go out for just some reason, and then you're all in pitch black.
Yeah.
In the middle of New York, yeah.
That was always a nice moment for me. Just ceased to exist.
I didn't have to see that man peeing in the corner.
Right, exactly. And then we get this repeated line that we have a couple of times in this track. Which way to blue skies?
Which way to blue skies?
So it's that, to me, is the contrast to the scary tunnel night, the white knuckle fingers, the ghost train. How do I get to the blue skies? How do I get to the, open possibilities?
Yeah, blue sky thinking is to spitball. Anything is valid. You know, everything is open. So that's what we want our life to be. Gerald's life is a blue sky. Where does it go?
Blue skies looking at me. Nothing but blue skies do I see.
Blue skies smiling at me. Nothing but blue skies do I see.
So it also has a connotation of happiness as well.
Yes, a positivity, yeah. To very, very distinctly contrast with that tunnel night.
Yes, exactly.
With that darkness, yeah.
And then right on the heels of that, we get phantoms pop from cupboard doors, mocking manic laughter shrieks, dark promises of blood and gore.
Phantoms pop from cupboard doors, mocking manic laughter shrieks, dark promises of blood and gore.
Which way to blue skies? Not here, sucker!
Yeah. That reality of, yes, we all want that blue sky. We want the bright. We want the happiness. But at any moment, any cupboard you open, any metaphorical cupboard.
Or real cupboard.
There could be the dark promises of blood and gore just as likely as you could a puppy.
So far, I have the impression of somebody who is at a point in their life. Nel mezzo del mia vita, io sono travuto in un bosco scuro. The beginning of the Divine Comedy. In the middle of my path through life, I found myself lost in a dark woods.
Yeah.
Where the bright way was lost, was obscure. That's kind of what we have here. This sense of like, how did my life go so wrong? How did I get here?
Yeah.
And how can I get to something that might be appealing to me?
Yeah, I really like that, particularly with that image of the bright blue sky and the tunnel night.
Yes.
I see a lot of similarity there, which is really interesting because we compared Passion Play to the Inferno.
Well, we've compared a lot of things to Dante's Divine Comedy.
We only have so many references.
One of our go-tos. We continue with the second verse. There's really not a chorus to speak of in this introduction.
Yeah, right.
Interventions at every turn, opportunities thrown wide and far, journeys I might never take. Tom thinks he knows just where we are.
Interventions at every turn, opportunities thrown wide and far, journeys I might never take. Tom thinks he knows just where we are.
You know what this is reminding me of? And we'll get into the specifics, but
okay.
You've read the Harry Potter series, right?
Yes, I listen to the audiobooks by Stephen Fry once every 2 years or so because he is so good. Not because of Harry Potter, but because of Stephen Fry.
Right. Setting J.K. Rowling to the side for a moment.
Please, can we?
Is
that something we can do?
How far to the side can we set her? There's a great moment when Harry first comes to Hogwarts. They put the Sorting Hat on him. There's this great conversation between him and the Hat, and the Hat's being like, oh, this is interesting. I could put you here. I could put you here. I could put you here. This would be a cool choice for you. This would be a cool choice. And he's like, oh my God, please just let me do this. Let me be a Gryffindor. Let me be a Gryffindor.
I think more specifically, it's not Slytherin.
Yes, exactly. Anywhere but Slytherin. And the Hat's like, are you sure? That could open up a lot of really interesting possibilities for you.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're in that phase of Gerald Bostock being offered in this potential future. Do you want this? You could have this. You could do this. You could do this.
Yeah.
Interventions at every turn. So an intervention, I tend to think of it as when all of your friends and family gather around you and tell you that you have a drug problem.
A little personal. No, I think just to intervene is for someone to step in.
Or something to step in.
Or something.
You know, you talk about medical interventions. This person is going down this trajectory of health. We're going to intervene medically to put them on this other trajectory.
Yeah. I like trajectory. I like the use of that word. It's something to redirect, generally, preferably a better direction.
Yes, but not necessarily.
I injected a bullet into his head.
Oh my God.
He is no longer alive, and that is for the better.
The trajectory of his life was too much in a continuing to live type of direction.
The trajectory of breathing is done.
Opportunities thrown far and wide. That kind of to me has a double meaning that you are creating lots of opportunities, but also your opportunities are being scattered rather than being gathered to you.
Yeah. You have to decide which one to take, and then you are going down that path.
Right. Journeys I might never take.
Again, if you decide one thing, you probably can't go back and do the other.
At least that's the idea that we often have. And I think especially as youths, and this may be even more the case in the British schooling system than in the American schooling system. In the British schooling system, there's this whole thing with the A-levels.
Yeah.
And how you do on the A-levels determines your entire future.
Yeah, I think so.
We have that a little bit less here, but there is that sense of like, well, if you don't get into this school, you'll never do this life, that it's the only one worth living. And if you go to this school, then you'll end up doing this.
Yeah. It's your choice of university and choice of learning path, I think, here in the States.
And of course, we know now that we are older that that's all nonsense, that life is not a straight line. It is rather a constellation of events, and you get to draw them together and say, it's a dog.
You get to connect the dots where you will.
You get to connect the dots.
Yeah. They won't let me sit in on Rook second grade, though. I don't understand why. This is where I am in my life right now. And they say no.
They say, look, we know you're good at connecting the dots.
Come on.
But let the other kids have a chance.
Push them out of the way. Yeah.
And then possibly my favorite line, Tom Tom thinks he knows just where we are. Nick, who is Tom Tom?
Tom Tom, for the littleins, for the youngins, was a GPS device.
Yeah.
Back when you had a separate little device that you would put in your car. There were a couple of other different big names.
Yeah, well, Garmin,
that's the other one I was thinking of, yeah.
Garmin is still alive and kicking. They make a lot of sportswear and fishing and military stuff.
Right, but obviously not the insert GPS into your car. I had a Garmin. That's how I got around on Long Island. Lifesaver.
TomTom still exists.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They make maps, they make devices. But, functionally for most people, that's been supplanted by, a smartphone and Google Maps.
Yeah, right.
But at this exact time period, kind of 2011, that is when TomTom was more common. And I'm sure that when the first TomTom came out, Ian was like, I shall have it.
Yes, I'll test that TomTom, and then I'll put it in a song.
Put it in a train.
It's a straight line, Ian. You don't really need a GPS.
Train, GPS. Ripples from a pebble throne make tsunami on a foreign shore. I would slip right off this high-rise hell, but the elevator stops at every floor.
Ripples from a pebble throne make tsunami on a foreign shore. I would slip right off this high-rise hell, but the elevator stops at every floor.
That's a very interesting line.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Out on the Edge? Ledge? Hanging on the ledge? Edging on a ledge?
A Jethro Tull song?
Yeah. Out on the edge again?
Overhang.
On the overhang, yes. To me, it smacks as... I read somewhere that some big philosopher, probably Nietzsche, said the only real philosophical question worth asking is, should I kill myself?
Oh, that sounds right, yeah.
Which sounds like something a philosopher would say.
A nihilist philosopher, yeah.
A nihilist, yes, exactly. I mean, this line does conjure up a little bit of slipping off of this high-rise hell. Makes me think of, well, maybe I just end it all.
Yeah, right.
But the elevator, being the structure of the building itself, doesn't permit you to do that because it keeps stopping and offering you these different prescribed options. It's very interesting.
Right. Like if you're going to punch your ticket, you're not going to do it in an elevator. It's a curious choice of that allusion to killing oneself, but you're doing it in the elevator?
Well, to me, it's sort of like it's just as much effort to kill yourself as it is to go on living. And so the path of least resistance is just to go on living, even though you're not happy.
Right, because you're already in motion to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe this isn't about suicide. Let's say the building is a stand-in for society. I don't want any part of this society. I don't want any of these options that are being offered to me. But the elevator of my life keeps stopping at floor 16, floor 15, floor 14.
You can't really live your life without interacting with society. You have to go to the grocer.
God knows we've tried.
Please. Your dad is as close as it gets.
Yeah. And even he sometimes has to go out and
fly to Florida.
Get a tractor part. 12 going on 16. Such a rush to grow old and wise.
12 going on 16. such a rush to grow old and wise.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I love that line. It reminds me of Peter Pan. There's a great line where Peter he's been stabbed and he's on the rock that's about to be covered and he's too weak to fly. And he says, to die will be an awfully big adventure. And someone later, it may be in an adaptation, reversed it to say, to live will be an awfully big adventure.
Boo. When they kidified it, yeah.
I think it might be part of Hook.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That feels Hookian.
So, your adventures are over.
Oh no. To live will be an awfully big adventure.
I love this line. Such a rush to grow old and wise. What a cool sentiment.
Are you thinking rush like a thrill, like an excitement?
Yeah.
No. From 12 going on 16, I want to be old. I want to grow up. I want to do this.
I'm in a rush.
Yeah. And really, like, when you're 40, you're like, why? Why am I not like 17 right now?
So you're saying this is the young Gerald saying, I just want to get on with it. I want my possibilities to, or maybe it's Gerald reflecting back on when he was young.
He was in a rush.
Saying, I was in such a rush to get here where I am now because I thought it would be freedom. I thought I'd soar where the eagle flies, the endless possibilities.
Yeah.
But now I'm just asking myself, which way to blue skies?
Endless possibilities. Follow soaring where the eagle flies. Which way to blue skies?
Yeah, I think it's Gerald in particular, but it's also like, it's everybody, you know? I mean, any kid wants to be older, to be able to do things that they can't, to be respected, to be spoken to in a different manner, you know, all sorts of things.
Look at that Tom Hanks movie, Big.
Look at that Tom Hanks movie, Big.
That's what it's about, right?
I think so.
Let's go with that. And then we have what feels like a little Pink Floyd influence for one line. Mummy said, don't go out alone.
Mommy said, don't go out alone.
That was,
Thin Ice?
yeah, Thin Ice, yeah.
On the Thin Ice?
The Thin Ice, maybe? I think it might be just The Thin Ice, yeah.
The Thin Ice, yeah. Mummy said, don't go out alone. I hear bad name calling. Derisory. Derisory.
I hear bad name calling derisory.
Nick, definition for derisory.
It's from derisive, so negative, pejorative. A derisive comment is one talking down upon one.
I hear bad name calling, which is intended to position someone as less than.
Yes. Yeah. You're going out there alone, and because of that, you're a target. And you're picked on, you get names called to you. He's
saying, Mummy warned me about this.
Yeah.
She said, don't go out alone. But here I am, and I'm hearing the bad name calling.
Right.
It's interesting that he says bad name calling derisory, because those are all kind of the same thing. He's triple loaded that concept.
Well, it's bad name calling. It's not bad, name calling. So it's not good name calling. It's not, hey, chief. It's, hey, stupid.
It seems a little Shakespearean where he's like, he wants to really underline the point that it's negative.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I think so.
Finishes, so choose direction and turn the stone.
So choose direction and turn the stone.
Interesting, turn the stone as a phrase.
Yeah.
Got anything there?
Rolling stone gathers no moss. To turn, oh no, I'm thinking leaf. I was going to say turn over a new leaf.
Oh, I'll take it.
But also to overturn a stone, you reveal what's underneath.
That's true.
You send the potato bugs running.
You do. There's a wonderful Buddhist expression or saying or something, which is, if you want to change the world, all you have to do is turn over a single pebble.
A pebble in the pond, sending ripples.
Pebble in the pond is worth two in your bush.
If you turn that pebble over, someone slips on it.
Or doesn't slip on it.
Yeah. And you don't get the insurance money. Or you do.
It is interesting that, you really could game out in a fantasy way. Like, it's like you go back in time and stepped on a blade of grass, and then you come back and
dinosaurs are in the office.
Wearing lots of clothes.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs are saying, how about the Mets? Happy hump day. Working hard.
Hardly working.
Working for the weekend, pterodactyl. God.
Happy Monday. Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee.
And all of them are just wishing that they'd been wiped out millions of years ago by an asteroid.
Where's that asteroid? Those lucky humans got wiped out.
Those lucky humans. So, choose a direction and turn the stone. Things will now bifurcate, trifurcate, and quadrifurcate themselves out into the myriad possibilities.
Right. This is our branch of the multiverse here.
Yes, yes. And it is interesting. Is it a dark moment of an unknown Bostock thinking back and saying, I could have done this, I could have done this, I could have done this, I could have done this?
Nice.
Or is it a dead Bostock reviewing all the lives that he imagined? Or is it young Gerald having a nightmare about his future lives? Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe that will be revealed later on. Maybe that'll be our button at the end. I don't know.
And maybe not.
Yeah.
I hear bad things calling, their eyes are read, but choose direction and turn the stone.
Nick, what are we listening to next week?
Next week, Omen, we are going to dip our toes into our first medley. It is Pebble's instrumental and Might Have Beens.
Yes. That will conclude the Pebble's Throne section.
Correct.
Thence we will move into Gerald the Banker.
Right, with another medley to begin with.
With another medley to begin with.
Until next week, I think I know just where we are. I'm Nick McGill.
Mummy said, don't go out with Omen Thomas Sade.
We are the intervention at every turn, the feckless moans.
And that's not manic laughter shrieks. It's talk Tull to me.
Tickets, please. Tickets.
What's this horrible train? Excuse me.
Yeah, tickets, please.
Are you the conductor of this train?
No, I'm taking tickets. I'm the ticket taker. Tickets, please.
Let me see. All I have is this stub that has a lot of question marks on it.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Okay, here you go.
I will punch out 2 of those question marks. You get 2 questions.
Oh, okay. Listen, I don't know how I got on this train. I don't know where it's going. I just need to know, is Montauk a stop on this line?
Oh, what a good question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer you with a question of my own.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
How has your life been up until this point? How do you feel about it?
I mean, if I'm honest, it's left something to be desired. I've always just been in middle management.
Okay.
I'm of average height.
Yeah.
I'm a little overweight. I'd love to have a drinking problem, but I don't have the effort to commit to it.
Sure. So fiercely average. You haven't really excelled
So
at
average.
anything. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I don't have any passions. I'm bored all the time. I just feel like I'm, kind of riding the train of life to the terminus.
Okay. And you don't feel inspired to change that? You feel kind of in a rut, is that right? And you
so much in a rut.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, cool.
So that answered my question,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Here's another one for you.
Okay.
What does it take to get into your position of being a ticket taker? Because wow, your outfit, I mean, the little lapel decorations that you have, the pen holder in your front pocket, really, really slick. I feel like I could do that.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. I will tell you. This job takes a lot of patience.
Does it?
This job takes a lot of drive and a lot
Does
of
it?
foreknowledge.
I don't even have 3 knowledge.
Yeah, no, see, that's the problem.
Yeah,
So
wow.
this ticket that you've given me, this will take you your stop is actually before Montauk,
Oh, okay.
because Montauk is actually beyond hell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And do we ever come out of the tunnel darkness night?
Well, for you, no. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will be here for you
Okay.
for the rest of time.
I see that your name is Virgil. Nice to meet you.
I'm here to usher you. The full position is psychopomp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing the same landmarks that I've seen before on this train.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're just going around in a big loop.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate perception?
It's actually a straight line, but it's a repetition of scenery, much like in old-timey cartoons when they run along.
Understood.
Yeah, that's kind of what limbo is for you.
Okay.
Because that's what you did in life.
I just feel like I dispassionately chased banners that I didn't care about.
Yeah. You never even attained those.
Well, here's some bright side. At least I have some entertainment for this train.
That is contraband, I must say.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you one half of my AirPods and you can listen to it with me. If you want. It's not silver. It's not silver on the eyeballs, but
Okay. What's the range on these headphones here?
it's infinite minus 2 feet.
Okay.
It's infinite, but the further away you get, the less the quality is.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, you know what? Let's give it a try. I've been here for eons, and we'll be here for the rest of time. So.
All right. Just slip this in your ear. Wow, are you ice cold?
Yep.
Wow.
No body heat whatsoever.
So cold.
Not human,
That's
not
interesting.
alive.
And let me just go ahead and press play.
As a proud member of the Focus Moons Audio Network.
Train